Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Michigan here with an advanced replay to show you. The other week we were playing here against GEX in advances on the Mines map, and we came across this horrifying scenario. If we take a look at our lineup, we are running 2 260s, 5 277s, the rest CSs, and we have 1 907 as well. The enemy team are running just super heavies galore. And with this being a small map, there is nowhere to hide and chip down your opponents. So this is going to pose quite an interesting issue. So what do we know right off the bat? Well, we know we can take the hill. Even if their super heavies gun it straight for the hill, they're not even going to be able to get shots at our CSs realistically going up the hill. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to kind of split a little bit and see if we can't get to map position early. The rest of us are just going to sort of hang out and see what we can find. We are going to send some 277s down the 9 line to see if we can't occupy that. Remember, the enemies cannot rotate quickly, so what we're going to do is occupy as much map as possible and see what we can get. Now, the biggest problem that this matchup presents is the disparity between our alpha damage and our armor against theirs, coupled with the fact that they're on defense. So anytime we poke, we get hit for 490 or God forbid 750, we're only going to be able to return about 390. The highest alpha tanks on the team are the 5 277s here with 490 health. Now also, none of our tanks really have gun depression, and to play this area you need gun depression. So that's going to pose other areas. But again, all we're trying to do right now is just get map position, and we've already seen the impact that being in this sort of scenario can have as our CS63 gets taken out by a 4005. Now, when you're playing against high alpha tanks like that, the worst thing you can do is feed them damage. What we need to do is play away from them so that they don't get any shots. So we're going to start off there by looking at the mice. Now, again, this is just a real struggle. We're not firing from exactly close range, and we're also firing against some of the most heavily armored vehicles in the game, mice and E3s. And you can see right off the bat I take one hit from a VZ that knocks out my track and my ammo rack. So already we have an issue. We brought the 277 down around the edge of the mountain just to see if maybe they can spot some stuff, but I'm going to ask one of the 277s here, Darth actually, who is going to come up here, and I just want him to spot. Now, the 277 doesn't have the gun depression to shoot over there. If he does go up too far, he's going to get shot. So what I'm going to have him do is just poke up to light. He's not going to attempt to shoot anything. He's going to spot that mouse mate. We're going to get one of our first chunks of damage this game for 487 on that mouse. Now, this is, again, it's going to be tricky. I'm looking for the turret of that mouse to the right and left, and it is not going to be an easy shot as that mouse is still moving around. Just looking at there, it's green, but he turns his turret just a touch, and that's it. So now what I'm thinking is, we just have to run down to A1. Now, I'm going to tell you why I think we should do this, and I'm going to tell you why this is probably the worst idea you could do. The reason why I want to do this is because we have to take one side of this. We either have to take the 7 or we have to take the 1. We can't sit here and shoot this, because right now we're solely relying on just touchy lights. The problem with the 1 line is that you're running a gauntlet. I mean, think about how much stuff is probably on A4 right now. And if you're looking for A4, I'll zoom out. It's that hill right up there. You just saw a shell explode on it. So this hill is probably hosting a couple of TDs. Not to mention that there's an E3 who's wedged into C1, a 60 behind there, and then 2 more E3s, and a Jagdpanzer in the back. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm looking for the artillery strike, is we're going to try something else. And I'm not going to spoil it until we do it. So they're requesting the artillery strike to maybe back those TDs off, but here's the issue with that, is let's just rewind 10 seconds. Oh, alright. So there we go. We're looking at the arty strike. Let's pause. That arty strike only covers half the hill, and currently we have no vision on the hill. So if we drop the strike there, it may temporarily dislodge the vehicles. However, that is not a permanent solution, and that's a waste of a strike. it looks like the Arty Strike fits very nicely in there, but what we're failing to account for is that we have a little triangle over here, which we have no lights on. We have all of this, which we have no lights on, and they could just go down the hill, which, again, we don't have any lights on. So temporarily dislodging tanks from a position without any follow-up action is pretty much useless. You know, we may get 100, if we're lucky 200 damage on the enemy vehicles up there, but that doesn't do anything for us. What we really need to do is dislodge the enemy tanks at a more opportune time. So I'm asking the 277s to move up there, and I'm thinking, you know what, we're just going to throw everything at the wall and cross our fingers that it works. That is the current plan. And we're going to change that plan, because like I said, we would lose pretty much instantly. The problem with pushing is you're going to lose health when you do it. If you push when you're low, when you're down HP like we are, all you're doing is exacerbating the situation, meaning that instead of being down 3,600, we may get positions, but what we'll do is we're going to lose health. Lose even more, and we'll be down so much health that we won't be able to do anything. So now, if you were paying attention, I clicked at A6. So what we're doing instead is we're going to try something that I have never tried before, which is we are going to gun it down the 8-9 line, and we're going to try and occupy A5-6. Now, as we're rotating, I'm actually going to pause, and I'm going to talk about why. So let's take a look at some of the terrain features here, and the situation that we have. Currently, we have the hill occupied. There is no question about that. That hill is ours. Now, if they decide to push it, that's a different problem, but we can't always prepare for every situation. But what we do have is a fairly safe passage down this side and over here. Now, if you can see, it's hard to tell, but there is a dip down there, meaning that the tanks, when they come around, they'll get shot around here, but they're CSs. They're not slow heavies. They should be able to take 1 or 2 hits and then be able to make it down. And on top of that, there is a lot of buildings here which allow them to take cover from these mice. So the goal is, if we can get tanks at A5-6, we can clear the mice out, and then we can creep along the hill, because there'll be nothing over here to defend that side. Remember, that hill, pretty safe. If they try and poke over the hill, we have tanks on top. So that's the current plan. And this is a brand new situation for me as a caller. And it should also be noted that I was a little frustrated with the CS at the time, because we're lagging, but we have plenty of time. You know, we've got one CS all the way at J3, and another CS who's almost in their position. I'm taking a look there, seeing if I can spot the mice. And now, why do I want to spot the mice? The reason I want them lit is because that's where I'm going to use my Arty Strike. Vehicles who are moving are more inaccurate than vehicles who are not. So if I can time the drop to make all those mice get out of the strike, we're going to limit the amount of damage that our CSs take. So there's one CS, and we're going to look for a shot, looking for the VZ, and now I'm going to drop the strike right there and try and get them. So we're going to lose our first CS. That's okay. It's expected. I appreciate him just taking the hit. So I'm looking for the lower plate. We're going to put a second shot in. Now, let's take a look here and zoom out and watch our CSs. So our CSs haven't made it in the back. Now, there is an E3 back there, and it's going to take the CSs a lot of concentration to not get shot by the mice and also be able to take out the E3. In addition, they're also just driving through the Arty Strike, and this is a mistake that they're not doing that I see so many people do, is the Arty Strike completely terrifies people like it's a pit of lava. Driving through that strike at full speed, you'll take maybe 200 damage. 300, you know, could, even with heavy, it could be 400. The lowest amount of damage you'll take in this game, you know, if it's not a Sturv, is 390. Or sorry, 490 or 440 from the IS-4. So it's always better to just take the strike to get better map position. So what we're trying to do now is I'm working with the 277s who will join me in a second, and we're going to try and set the edge. Now, setting the edge is another term that I always use, which is we want to limit the angles of fire the enemy have by clearing from the far left or to the far right in towards the middle. If we can do that, it sort of groups all the remaining enemies into one little box, and we can then better take them out, right? If we drove for the mouse over there in the middle, we'd be getting shot from both sides. So we're going to try and clear out the tanks on the very edge first. Now, the CSs are doing a great job there. We're going to stay zoomed out here so we can kind of watch them. The CSs are clearing out that E3, and you can see that they are taking a lot of damage. And we're now down 6,300 HP. At face value, if you weren't looking at anything, you would say that's a terrible result. You know, you lost a CS, you have 2 1-1 shots, and then the rest of them have taken quite a bit of damage. But what we now have is that position that the enemies have to do something about. If they don't, they're going to be in big trouble. And unfortunately, this IS-4 here is going to finish off one, and we're going to now have another CS down. But the CSs have now gotten everything lit. The 260s are looking for shots, the 907 has spots in the middle, and the 277s are getting the occasional chip shot. Now down 1 to 4 and 7,000 health, and you can say this is spiraling out of control, and you wouldn't be entirely wrong. This is not a great position to be in. All the CSs are just huddled, but we get our second kill there with the 277. I'm going to look for the IS-4, and we're going to finish him off. Luckily, I bounced the mouse. Darth is going to help me out, but we're a little bit on two different pages here. He's looking for the VZ, and I'm looking for the mouse. So what I'm going to do is... Oh, I almost just shot my teammate. But it looks like one of the CSs from the back over here is now going to be able to get that first kill, as that CS is trying to pay attention to us and not to the CSs back there. So we're going to stay zoomed out as we kind of take a look around. Now the 260s are taking a little bit of damage. One of them has come off the hill, just sort of hang out, and I'm looking for this mouse. The mouse is still looking for the other 277, and I'm just going to barely squeak that shot in. And with that, the CSs now have a little bit of room to maneuver. We've now cut the deficit to 3,500 HP, and we are actually up a vehicle. Now, horrible play there by me, and it's not going to be the first time there. Taking a big hit from that WZ. I'm going to look again, and what I should really be doing right now is staying alive. The one struggle that you'll find when calling is that you oftentimes sacrifice a little bit of play to try and call. So it's a little bit of a poor decision by me there. So looking for the stir there, almost get myself flipped. Now let's take a look at the situation, because 2 minutes ago it did not look like this. We were down 7,000 hit points and 3 vehicles. But now you can see we have boxed the enemies. Remember, we worked through to the edge, right? We took out the backside and then we worked into the middle. Again, trying to box the enemies. There's one edge, here's another edge, and that's their main force inside. So again, some of their force moved out, but that isn't that important. So now we have these E3s stuck in a position because they have 277s behind them and they have everybody else out in front. However, we still are down 1,500 health. So we are going to have to clean this up, and we only have 2 minutes left. They do finish off one of our 260s, but now they are unable to stay unspotted. So I'm communicating here, trying to figure out where these E3s are looking. This guy is not the most accurate vehicle. We're up by 2 tanks, and we're pretty much even on HP now. So at some point I'm going to call the 277s up. Taking a punt there at that E3, it's going to connect. And now we have cut the lead to pretty much even. Our CS are still over there. I'm going to bounce a very lucky shot from the E3. Again, all we're trying to do is move up just block to block. We don't need to rush anything. We have 2 minutes left, and we don't have a lot of HP. So we only have 7,000. What we really need to do here is just ensure that we're being very systematic with how we take these vehicles out. Remember, we still have a Sturv up there that we're going to have to deal with, and there's a 4,005 behind that rock. With 1 minute and 40 seconds, this isn't a free win. So what I'm going to do is, again, trying to set the edge. The tank that's furthest out right now that's preventing us from completely boxing them in is the 260. So if I can clear the 260, we can squeeze them a little tighter. If I focus the middle, that's great. You know, we get damage and whatnot, but that doesn't help anybody else advance. So I'm going to take a good shot there, 510 on that 60, and he's going to be down to 1 shot. Now, I'm pretty safe here behind this rock. I do have to be careful because of the Sturv, but I should be pretty safe. Now, with the 277 down, I'm going to ask those 277s to push, and unfortunately, they're going to be a little wary about it. However, one of them does have the potential to move, and they will move eventually. But we are down to now 70 seconds, and we're still down HP while we are up tanks. So now it's going to be making sure we utilize our tanks and make them waste shots killing some of our vehicles so that we can secure these last 3 kills. Down to just about a minute here, and I'm going to ask the CSs to just push up there and take the Sturv out. They've got the hit points. They can do it. Now, see, this is up there. He's right in not just pushing that Sturv, because that Sturv will kill him before he even gets over there. So what he needs is some help. So as soon as we take out this 4005, which it looks like we're about to, I am going to go up there and help Cetus. and looking for the 4005. He's stuck behind the rock. We've got him out. We're down to the final 2 vehicles. About to be the final one. Hairman joins him up here. All we have to do is just rush this stir. Getting a good shot in there, and that is going to be a solid finish. So again, to recap, we had a very tough lineup against a tough opponent, and they set us up with a very difficult task. We thought about rotating down the 1 line, which would have been kind of grasping at straws to win that battle. Instead, we decided to go down the 8 line, secure a position that I have never played before, especially from the opposite side, let alone from this cap circle, and slowly squeeze the enemies out of their positions, setting the edge and clearing from one end to the middle. So I actually finished with a nice 6,200 damage, 1,300 assist, and 1,700, but this isn't about me, this is about the team as a whole, and what you can do, and while calling and coming up with some new positions and just overall trying new things out. So I hope you enjoyed this nail-biting video, and I will catch you all later. See ya.